Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the 5 greatest Schubert recordings. This was another tough one because Schubert wrote a lot of music, as we well know, and the music divides up into like the songs, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them, and everything else. That's basically where he is. He's bifurcated. And very prolific bifurcated composers are difficult to encompass in just 5 recordings, which is, of course, the entire point of this, to punish us and make us choose. I've noticed that a lot of you still have a problem following instructions, which means just list 5. I'm not interested in your opinion about my list. I'm not interested in your opinion about anyone else's list. I'm not interested in the recordings other people have chosen that you agree with or disagree with. That's not what we're doing. Just give us your list. Simple. And it should have up to, not necessarily always, but up to 5 titles. And also, it's not necessarily the ones that you love the most. It's the ones that you know are the best. Think about that difference for a minute. Because as record collectors, the whole point is to find the things that we love. That's what we do. That's why we do this. But there are also recordings that we may not personally think are the best ever, that we don't play the most often, but that we acknowledge are superb because we have a wider knowledge of music, a wider knowledge of the repertoire, the artists who perform it, their reputations. It's really an interesting thing to do because it teaches us as listeners to appreciate things which are great, even if they're not necessarily to our taste. I often include recordings which are not necessarily to my taste because I know they're great recordings, and because I think it's my obligation to you, my viewers, and those who don't know the music well, to be honest about what people are saying. I'll give you an example. The Kleiber Beethoven Fifth, the Carlos Kleiber Beethoven Fifth with Vienna, which everybody says is the greatest thing since sliced bread. I think there are plenty of better Beethoven Fifths out there. I really do. But I don't deny that it's a superb performance and a great recording. And I would be a moron and dishonest if I said that it's not the generally accepted. Remember, we had this whole conversation about reference recordings, that people tend to refer to. And a lot of people choose it. Whether it's because they really like it or because they think they're supposed to like it, I don't know, but they choose it. And that's what we're trying to get at here in a positive sense. The idea that there are great recordings out there. And I just want you to think about those things while we do these lists because I think it will make you a better listener, and sometimes taking a little step back and surveying the horizon gives us a sense of perspective that we wouldn't otherwise have. Anyway, that's my 2 cents worth, or my 3 minutes and 38 seconds worth. Now, for the 5 greatest Schubert recordings. You ready? First, Winterreise. This is the only song thing I have on my list. I assume that others of you will do much more with the songs or song recitals and song cycles. I leave it to you to do that. In this case, it's Peter Pears, Benjamin Britten on Decca. And the reason I chose this isn't not just because it's a superb performance, which it really is, but because it is a genuine partnership in the truest sense of the term. Of course, Britten and Pears were partners, which sort of helps, but Britten was himself a splendid performer, an incredibly sympathetic and intelligent interpreter. Pears was a singer with a strange voice, which I actually like because I think, these songs suffer sometimes from an excessively operatic style. And Pears, of course, had an operatic style, but he had an artsy style in his own way. But the voice itself was not conventional, which I think it makes you listen. And it really makes you focus on the interplay between the vocal line and the piano accompaniment. And they're both brilliant. So that's my pick for one of the 5 greatest Schubert recordings. Next, the Wanderer Fantasy with Richter, Sviatoslav Richter on Warner. Now, this was the coupling to his recording of the Dvorak Piano Concerto, actually with Carlos Kleiber. Not the greatest Dvorak Piano Concerto, by the way, although Richter, loved the work. He said it was the most difficult concerto he ever had to learn or something like that. I don't know. But his Wanderer Fantasy, oh boy, that's special. And it's such an amazing piece. It really is. It's really a piano tone poem. It does everything that a Liszt tone poem was supposed to do, but before Liszt. In other words, it features transformations of the same basic idea throughout separate sections, which encompass totally different moods. It's really an amazing work, just an amazing work. And so I think that it's just a great piece. And one of the things that I always point out to people now that I know, it's like, is that the Wanderer theme is in the slow movement. You don't hear it up front. It has the rhythm, but the actual tune from the Song der Wanderer, it's a slow, dark, gloomy song, is in the slow movement. So you don't hear it right away. And so if you're wondering where the Wanderer is, that's where. Just keeping it in mind. But Richter's performance is just cosmically awesome. I mean, it's perfectly shaped and brilliant and full of this sort of, I don't know, this combination of passion and nobility that Richter at his best really could do. Just tremendous. And then, the big final piano sonata in B-flat major, Deutsch 960, with Radu Lupu on Decca. Now, Lupu was a tremendous Schubert interpreter. Everybody agrees with that. I really do. But what I particularly like about this performance is that it does give you that sort of Richter-like combination of nobility and passion, but without the glacial first movement tempo, which can be quite hypnotic and stunning. I mean, it really can be. I mean, Richter's performance is amazing. But Lupu has a lyricism and a flow that I think is, you could argue, is probably closer to what Schubert's intentions were. And it's just poetry in motion. It's totally amazing. So that's the sonata, the last piano sonata. Then, the string quintet. Oh, yeah, the string quintet in C major with the Alban Berg Quartett and Heinrich Schiff on Warner. No, it doesn't have like the first movement repeat. I get it. But I don't care. It is the most gorgeous, heartfelt, beautiful performance of that work. And in the scherzo, that hunting scherzo, the strings produce this dense, crunchy, hunting-like sonority. The horns are braying, and it's an amazing, amazing performance. It knows exactly when to be lyrical and in the slow movement, transcendental, and when to rough it up and give it a little edge. It's just an amazing performance. And last but not least, Symphonies 8, the unfinished, and 9, the great, with George Szell and the Cleveland Orchestra on Sony. This one is legendary. I mean, this is the Carlos Kleiber Beethoven Fifth of Schubert records. I mean, it's an unbelievably perfect performance of both works. And you absolutely cannot overestimate the difficulty of pulling off Schubert's Ninth. It's a symphony that fails so many times on the founders on the rocks of too many repeats or some sort of pedantry or not being able to keep the repetitive rhythms going, or Szell just nails it. It's a performance of total, complete mastery from first note to last, with big paragraphs, tons of excitement, playing of unbelievable transparency, despite some very clunky orchestration on Schubert's part. Remember, he never heard the piece. And so, he just wrote it and died. So, It really is an extraordinary thing. But it does need a little bit of balancing, let's just say. And that was something that Szell and Cleveland could do better than just about anyone in the universe. It was their sense of ensemble balance. It was just incredible. So that disc is one for the ages. And there you have it, the 5 greatest Schubert recordings. Feel free, as I said, to contribute your own. And let's see how fabulous a Schubert discography we're going to put together. I know it's going to be just great because you guys are the best when you follow instructions. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.